Hey guys, I'm Ray from Shotana Films, and I wanted to do a discussion video for The World's End, because it just got released. I already did a little review of it. You can see the link for it at the end of the video. But I want to do a discussion with my friend, but I realized because I had the Q&A with Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, and Edgar Wright after the first screening in the US recorded, and I just decided, yeah, I'll just show you guys that instead. So, just a quick review if you don't want to see the other one. This movie was funny, it was action-packed, it was possibly one of the best movies I've seen this summer. And the amount of people that have seen this, that have already given it rave reviews, like Joss Whedon, hell, Nathan Fillion was there, and when I watched it, it was pretty cool. And everyone's just been giving it rave reviews, and honestly, it deserves it. Ignore IGN's stupid-ass 7.9 because I don't know what the hell they were talking about. This movie's worth it, and it's a great one. Well, yeah, and like, comment, and subscribe. Really helps me out. I mean, it's not that much. Just click the button.
We did it, and then in Hot Fuzz we had like the blue wrapper one because it was the police. So then mint for kind of like sort of well, the color scheme of the blanks in the movie is all blue and green. Like if you watch it again, actually when you watch it again, you notice that everybody apart from our heroes is wearing blue and green in the movie. Like everybody, even Martin Freeman and Eddie Marzan are wearing blue and green because they're gonna get it. So only like Roz, Simon, Nick, and Paddy are like wearing colours that aren't blue and green. So we kind of wanted to have this overall palette that was just kind of felt oppressive, and maybe you wouldn't notice it at first.
Now I have to say, one question that people always ask actors, and I hate this question, but I'm about to ask it, is a question of, are you like your characters, are you not like your characters? But I want to know for...
I thought you were going to say a different annoying
Which was what?
Say, were you drinking real beer? But in every single interview.
But I want to know for you guys, Simon and Nick, of all of the different kind of relationships that you've had on screen, because there's been so many now, which one comes closest to capturing the relationship that you have in real life? Because it's great that you guys have mixed it up a lot, and it's never been the same dynamic, really.
Simon, Nick? I think we've probably been in all of those relationships, but weirdly, not this one. Our relationship, I think we're very lucky that our relationships, we've evolved as we've grown older, and neither of us have ever, we haven't done it on purpose. It's just happened, and it. We just move forward.
I think that's how we would have been if I'd suddenly got stuck, and because you don't take any shit from me, do you? You always,
no.
And
I think you dropped out of doing a law degree too, so I mean, I'm not like Andy in that respect.
Yeah.
I left law behind. The law is an arse. So.
We were kind of like Sean and Ed for a while, or then sometimes you were like Sean and I was Ed.
Yeah.
But if I'd have got stuck and not evolved, you would have got angry with me like that by freezing me out.
I would have dropped you like that. I still might. I'll never drop you. Thank you.
One thing I'm very impressed about is that this is a film that has already opened in the UK, and yet if you go on Pierce Brosnan's IMDb page, this movie does not appear.
Don't do it, guys.
Don't do it.
I'll kill you.
Don't go on Wikipedia and change his list of credits. But let's talk about how this, because we have a crowd of people who have seen it. Let's talk about how this all came about. Getting him, who sought after whom?
We approached Pierce. I mean, what we wanted to do, we thought with that character, it would be, there's something like, I don't know if you've ever, if you see like a high school teacher out of like a school, it's always like, oh, it's Mr. Shepherd from school. It's like he's famous when you're at school. So we thought it'd be a funny thing to have someone really, really famous as the teacher. Because in the scene, it's almost like the actors are like reacting to the fact that Pierce Brosnan is at the table. It's like they get slightly starstruck and giddy.
It was fucking amazing. It was Pierce Brosnan, wasn't it?
So what's funny about the scene is also that point in the movie where they're that drunk that they're getting a bit silly, but they're sort of reacting not only to the fact that they're a teacher from school, but the fact that it's Pierce Brosnan sitting there.
And also they behave like they would when they were kids. As the evening progresses, they revert more and more to type as they were when they were children, to the point that the boys all fall in line behind Gary. The old hierarchy just re-establishes itself, despite all their efforts to outgrow him. With a few pints inside them, they just become the boys they used to be. And sitting around Mr. Shepherd, they can't even call him by his first name because it's too funny. Like I had that experience meeting my teacher years and years and years later when I was supposed to call him Gareth, and I just couldn't because it just sounded so ridiculous.
It was a mensch. It was a mensch on set. He didn't. Sorry to just slip into Yiddish. He
does that.
He hung around with us. He didn't go back to his trailer. He sat and played stupid games and read the paper with us. And I had not much to do in that scene. I just had to kind of look at him and watch him act. And I think a lot of the time in that scene, I'm looking at him thinking, that's the bloke from Dante's Peak. It was amazing. He has such a beautiful voice as well. It's like rich Italian caramel dripping out of his mouth. It's wonderful.
We would actually, when he would leave a room sometimes, I would always quote, what is the worst line in the James Bond franchise from View to a Kill, is when a cop says, he goes, "You know who that was? James Bond." Which is a line that makes no sense. How is James Bond famous?
He was brilliant as well because he never, he was always there for offlines. Sometimes actors, if they're not on camera, won't be there for offlines. You'll talk to the script supervisor or a cross on the wall or something. But Pierce was always there. Like, always there. Like, even when we told him to go away, he was still there. It was just the most utter professionalism I've ever seen in my life.
Even after we'd wrapped.
I know, he's still there. I had such a crush on that man.
Yeah.
Well, given the fact that you had to make a film in order to hold the audience's attention, really, about people who we all would want to hang out with, how did you kind of calibrate it? Because, to use your word from the panel this morning, Gary's a bit of a dick, and Andy is a bit of a tight ass. So how did you make sure that you were keeping those characteristics at the same time as making them people that we would all actually want to spend time with?
I think, well, for me, it's that no matter how annoying Gary is, I always kept in mind the fact that he's desperately unhappy. And he's essentially a suicide on the run from a psychiatric hospital. That is what Gary is. Underneath all of that bravado and kind of like, crazy Beetlejuice-style energy, he's just a real tragedy. And if I loved him, then I hoped that eventually the audience would too, despite the fact that he's a complete twat. That's what I had to keep in mind the whole time, and I've never had so much fun playing a part in my entire life as I did Gary. He's just like, I feel for the guy.
We thought it was a nice kind of like sort of twist on the sort of the previous, because he's both the hero and the villain of the piece in terms of like, he's not only that friend from school, that guy that like peaked at 18, but like sometimes, I remember actually I had it on Nick's, I went to Nick's kind of stag do, that's what we call a bachelor party, and there was a guy there who was like the kind of the what I call the drinks Nazi.
My mate Danny, yeah.
Yeah, like as soon as I arrived, he got straight in my face and said, "Shots!" And I literally got off a plane from LA to come to his party, and he goes, "Shots now, right? Shots!" And I'm like, I'll have a shot. He goes, "No, now, shots." And I just thought, there's those kind of people that will make you do anything. And I think that's that thing, is like, when they were 18, they would all completely fall under kind of Gary's lead. And now also they're too wise to do that. What's the only thing that can make them do that is that Gary's got a plan when the robots turn up, and they're drunk, and it's like they immediately fall under his spell again, and it's like now he's in control. But also he doesn't have their best interest at heart. So we wanted to do this thing where we started this thing of like, let's make a film about a drinking quest. And then even when the left turn comes in, they're still on that quest. It's still about getting to the last bar. Even as the world falls down around them, it's got to get that last drink.
What about you, Nick, as far as...
well, I think, Andy is a bit of a tight ass, but he's been wronged, and he's completely in the right. He's a 40...
Wow, is he?
He is. Yeah. He's a 40-something old man, and he's a professional, he has a business, and it's... Why should he let him get away with it? And no one else says anything. I think that's what infuriates Andy. It's like, why am I the only one on him all the time? One of Edgar's notes on set all the time was, you got to be on him all the time. Anything he says, cut him down. And it was great. It was great to be able to do that. man. You know, he's a gentle man, but he has beef. You get me, blood.
One last thing from me, and then I want to hear what you guys want to know. I love, and I told you this when I met you the other day, I love all the shots of the close-ups of the draft and the close-ups of the water. How hard is it to get the camera that close to, because you must have been a large camera, that close to the drink apparatus? Like
you do those things that they have in beer. I mean, I feel like I could shoot a beer advert right now. Like, sort of, I tried to do some of the logos upside down, like Foster's, which is like not a particularly great brand, but one of the few brands, to their credit, that said yes. Get this, Budweiser said no to being in the film because they said, we're uncomfortable with the levels of drunkenness in this film.
Wow. Only because you can't get that drunk on Budweiser.
I had these like Foster's pumps. I was thinking, oh, how do I shoot that without shoot? I think I'll shoot the Foster's logo upside down, so it looks like an upside down crucifix or something. So that if I do these product placement shots, I kind of like switch them upside down. But they have these things like these periscope lenses. It's like a sort of a lens that comes out and down, so you can put it into a glass and stuff. So I could shoot. Listen, if there's any ad reps there, I'll happily shoot a Budweiser campaign for the next Super Bowl. But yeah, no, it's interesting doing those things because you do have to make it. You know, it was fun sort of trying to figure out how to make a water pouring shot dynamic.
Listen, I do see your agent in the theater. I'm sure you could have a conversation with him, make something happen. Okay, I want to know what you all want to know. Question right here.
It is, yeah, it is.
The question is, was the model of the King's Head modeled after Simon?
And the pub that was the King's Head is called the Arena Tavern in Letchworth in Hertfordshire in the UK, and they've decided to change their name to the King's Head Tavern from the Arena Tavern and keep the sign, which is a picture of me. It's one of the best things ever. Two best things ever, that, and also tonight when we were during the scene when we're all showing each other's scars, when Nick does the thing about we played the Aliens game, was reaching over to Bill Paxton going, huh? There he is.
You know what's funny? We deliberately actually didn't make too many film references in this one. There's only really two. The oh man, they mentioned this thing, and like the knife game. And I said, what are the chances that Bill Paxton is in the house tonight? Like the one reference we made to a movie. So thank you.
Beautiful, thank you, Bill.
What else? What else? Right here in the front.
How do you get the idea for the whole blanks come from?
Where did the idea for the blanks come from?
I like this idea. I'm always like sort of like in like sort of TV and film. There's lots of kind of great. Like I always found androids and replicants pretty scary. Whether it's the Autons from Doctor Who or like you know, the Stepford Wives or Ian Holm in Alien. But I sort of had this idea that when I used to play with action figures as a kid, I used to have like the UK version of G.I. Joe is called Action Man. Do you know Action Man over here? Yeah. But like you could easily twist the heads off and easily like pull the arms out. And so I don't know why, but I would always like sort of half destroy my toys, and then I'd have a lot of like dismembered soldiers and stuff. So I always thought that was just an interesting image. I wanted, like we said about the kind of almost like the booze and like being around Gary is gonna regress all the others to being children. So I wanted.
Jesus Christ. Oh, shit, the video cut out. I guess, I did record the rest of it, but this is just the shirt I got for, they gave these out, but I can't really wear it because it's child small. Since it did cut out, the question that was asked right before I resumed the video, someone asked why the blood of the creatures was a certain color, and that's what follows.
So there were a couple of reasons for that. We wanted to do something like a different color because like everybody does green blood for aliens. We didn't want to do that. But there's two things that we like the idea of them. At one point they're called blue bloods, and there's like a class thing because the blanks see themselves as a better class of humanoid. And then the other thing was like as a way of regressing the actors. I always like when I was at school, I used to draw a lot and write with like a fountain pen, and I get just like blue ink all over my hands all the time. and then I'd wipe it on my face by accident. So I remember going home every day from school with like inky hands, inky shirt, inky face. And I thought that would be a great way that after that first fight, all of the actors look like little kids again. So that was the idea, really.
Also, we wanted them
But
to
doesn't
be
it look
like...
like it would be fun to twist those heads off?
We wanted them to be not entirely well put together. The idea is that the network, whoever these are, you know, they don't look like that. They just make versions of whoever's on the planet to spread their word. They just usually drop a bunch of these off. They start telling the rest of the citizens of the planet about their, you know, ideologies, and gradually over a few hundred years it spreads, they become peaceful, they move on. They've never ever come across such a bunch of arseholes as us. They never really built them that strong because they never had to contend with anyone as belligerent and argumentative and annoying as human beings, which is why they kind of pop apart like that. They should have made them stronger.
I think one of my notes to the makeup guys when we were designing them, I said, you know, when we're talking about what they should look like, as I said, imagine if you like punched an Easter egg. Like your fist would go right through it. I've never done that, but I've often thought about doing it.
Those things hurt to punch as well. Easter eggs. Well, I mean, Easter eggs hurt to punch too, but the blanks, you know, I had to punch that girl's stomach and a couple of heads too, and they really hurt. They were really quite thick. Yeah, that's the end of that story.
Did you ever think you'd say in a movie, I just punched my wedding ring out of a robot's tummy?
It was a lovely line to say. I really
Yeah, we were very pleased the day we came up with that one, and why don't you get back in your rocket and fuck off to Legoland, you cunts.
Questions? Top row. Hey.
I want to know about the gratuitous Sisters of Mercy.
There is nothing gratuitous about it.
This man is a fan. Oh, you think
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Sisters of Mercy, so much so that I believe that this Corrosion is actually late Sisters of Mercy. It's second generation Sisters when he reformed with Patricia from the Gun Club. The 85 version of the Sisters, First and Last and Always, when it was Gary Marks and Wayne Hussey and Andy Eldridge, they, for me, are the pure Sisters of Mercy. My favourite band as an 18-year-old girl.
Why don't you two get a
before
room?
he shaved his head when he had long hair. You're too young to like the Sisters of Mercy, shut up. You're just some young indie kid with a trendy t-shirt you bought from fucking Gap. I'm kidding, I love you.
Who's the House Martins fan?
We both like the House Martins, yeah. That was, I mean, it's one of those songs, we always like to do something, especially in Sean and this one, like after a really intense like scene is find the most like joyously upbeat song you could possibly have. So Happy Hour by the House Martins seemed like the best bet for that one.
Love that song. Okay. Yes. I'm pointing at you. Yes, you just pointed at yourself. Hi.
Was the plan from the very beginning to always have that really crazy ending? Like, was it always envisioned to wind up in this post-apocalyptic?
Yeah, we wanted that idea. We didn't want to skimp out on the title, and we wanted to do something where it was the epilogue. We wanted to make it quite novelistic in a way that, like, you know, it's the epilogue, and like Simon narrates the prologue and Nick narrates the epilogue. And the idea that what it's leading up to is that, like, all the way through the film, it seems like Gary King is the only person who thinks back about that night and it being fun, and the others don't really care anymore. And then right at the very end, like, the Nick's character, like, admits that he misses him and he thinks about those days. There's really just having this kind of wraparound thing that it had to go that bad. It had to go that bad. The world had to end for them to get to this point where they'd actually Gary would apologise.
I think the idea that we had, we wanted, in the same way that we always had the idea of Ed in the shed with Sean at the end of Shaun of the Dead, was that Gary should end up with his younger friends. Gary should end up with him and the younger versions of his friends. And we toyed with the idea of time travel. We thought maybe when the world ends there's some sort of warp that happens and they go through it and Gary gets sucked back in time and he goes back to the night in 1990, and you know, but which felt poetic, but it was too complicated, and time travel throws up a lot of problems with logic, which is how we came up with the idea for the blanks, really, and the fact that they can regenerate you at any age and they can create whatever version of you that they like. And
offer you like your younger
offer
model.
you your youth, you know, as if they start bargaining with people, if they start having to kind of, you know, debate with the human race or whatever. So that's how we got Gary to end up with his young friends, was that he, in the end, he is with the blank versions.
He can play with his robot friends forever.
Right here with the red shirt.
Right? It's pub foo.
We had this idea. We thought that there's a couple of things. It's like in terms of what within the film, we thought it'd be funny that there's that Dutch courage takes over. Like we thought that like we try sort of you see in the prologue that like the Nick's character is like played rugby and is like a brawler, and so like he might not have had a fight for a long time, but he's quite, as the Brits would say, tasty. And then like I think the others have like sort of like Dutch courage just takes over, and what we liked within the fights is that it's not like they're all doing martial arts. It's like this mix of like rugby moves and WrestleMania moves that they've remembered. And
you might have spotted the people's elbow in there somewhere. There's a tombstone in there as well.
We just thought that maybe they'd like remembered a lot of WrestleMania moves when they were younger. But I like the idea that it's just the sort of like there was that thing that we talked about. There's that Jackie Chan film Drunken Master where Jackie can't fight until he's drunk, and we thought about that in terms of Dutch courage. Is that in that way that you do a lot of stupid things when you're drunk that you wouldn't even think about doing until you're sort of liquored up. But in terms of then designing the fights, what was really good fun is we worked with this great stunt choreographer called Brad Allen, who did Scott Pilgrim as well, and also did Kick-Ass and Hellboy 2. In fact, Guillermo del Toro is the guy who recommended him to me. He's an Australian guy, and he's like the first Caucasian member of Jackie Chan's team. So he's an Australian guy that went to China and then has been doing a bunch of films, and I brought him to London to work on this. And the thing that we wanted to do, that was actually a lot different from Scott Pilgrim, is like, how can we do these fights in unbroken takes? How can we do them for as long as possible without cutting? And that's really down to the fact that these guys, and Paddy and Martin Freeman and Ross Pike, could actually really do the moves and the choreography. So what they do is they do sort of an evaluation with the actors, work out what everybody can do, and as it turns out, quite a lot, because there's hardly any doubling. Like that bathroom scene that you see, there's only like 3 shots in that scene with stunt doubles. And then the other thing in that fight scene, you may or may not have noticed, and I think I talked about this in the EW panel the other day, is that all of the kids in that scene are the stuntmen. Like there are no stunt doubles in that scene. So those kind of like 5 kids that they beat up were stuntmen, stunt boys, like from the ages of 15 to like 19. The main kid, the guy Greg, the first one he gets decapitated, he was 15 and turned 16 on the set. And like 3 years ago, he was Chloe Moretz's stunt double in Kick-Ass. He was like a 12-year-old boy playing Hit Girl.
He hadn't even had his stunt mitzvah at that point. I think you have to have like a YAML cut of bees. That's how a stunt mitzvah works.
All right, we've got time for one more question. Who really, really wants it? Who's got? Okay, you're waiting real hard. Yeah.
I know it was originally took place in a different town, but why not include the Winchester in the Golden Mile?
Why was the Winchester not in the Golden Mile?
It was never supposed to be in the
I'll fill this one. We decided that when we wrote the film, we sort of decided what was going to happen in each pub, and then we went back and we named each pub specifically to correspond with what goes on inside. So the first post is the first post they go into. The Old Familiar looks the same as the first post. The famous cock is where Gary is famous. He's a bit of a cock. He got barred from it to chuck him out. The cross hands is where they have their first fight. Cross hands. The good companions is where they're pretending to be friends. You see the sign is like 4 unhappy faces and 1 happy face. That's the boys and Gary. The trusty servant is the Reverend Green, who is collaborating with the blanks. The mermaid is the marmalade sandwich.
The two-headed dog.
The two-headed dog is the twin. Sorry, the mermaid is the marmalade sandwich. The king's head.
The beehive is like the
sorry,
center of like the drones and industry.
Yeah, the king's head is Gary's brain. That's where he kind of like decides to complete the crawl. The hole in the wall is because Stephen drives through the wall in the car, and the world's end explodes.
I'm going to say again, when you watch it again, then the whole of the prologue, it basically prefigures the entire movie, even to the point where, like, this is where Martin Freeman's going to come out, this is where Eddie Marsan's going to come out, this is where they're going to end up. So we sort of tried to do a thing that the first 3 minutes of the movie basically tells you everything about the rest of the movie.
I say at the beginning that O-Man, Martin's character, was basically all math. You can think about what he looks like at the end.
Yeah. There's lots, we like to put loads of those things in, like all the the fact he says 5 musketeers. Oh, it would be more exciting with 5 because then 2 could die. 2 could die and you still have 3 left. So it's sort of like, there's a lot of like setup stuff. We like to do these little, we're just big show-offs.
Well, you can all see it again on August 23rd when it comes out in theaters. Tell all your friends.